students. This is Unit 8, Lesson 3 about motivation and emotion. In this lesson, we'll focus on emotion. And before we get into what exactly an emotion is, I want you to think about what an emotion feels like. So, you've all experienced being happy, being sad. Take a moment to think about how that feels in your body. That's something that when we refer to emotions, we don't always pay attention to. This lesson is going to really kind of deviate between or differentiate between feeling an emotion in your body and feeling an emotion in your thoughts. Understand that there are different components to emotion. So the physiology, what's happening in our body, influences how we react to that. And to me, the reaction is what is of the utmost importance, because after all, somebody might do something to me and it makes me feel some type of way, but it is my reaction to that cognitively that really makes a difference between me feeling depressed and sad about it, or me feeling, forget you, let me show you what's going to happen. So there are different components to this, and the study of emotion as far as psychology is concerned has all of these different things to consider, and throughout history has meant different things. So in this lesson, these are the sorts of things we're going to get into: the biological and cognitive components of an emotion, different types of theories in regards to feeling an emotion, describing how differences in gender and culture influence our expression, which, spoiler alert, it depends on where you grow up and then the environmental factors which influence how we interpret and express emotions. So first off, we have to define emotions, and it's not always an easy task because, we've talked about motivation already, and motivation is that which drives us to a goal, but I think that emotion is also a motive behind our behavior. We want to feel good and we want to bring others happiness and joy, but that's not always the state that we remain in, and state means everything for us. So an emotion defined here is feelings that generally have both physiological and cognitive elements and that influence behavior. Please make sure that you understand the word physiology over cognitive, physiology over psychology. That's what it says. We're talking about what's happening in our bodies when we feel an emotion. These are the older theories about feeling an emotion. So psychologically, historically speaking, our first one we begin with here is called the James Longe theory, which James is the William James of psychology that you might recall, wrote the Principles of Psychology. When experiencing an emotion, James and Longe was another theorist guy that I can't tell you more about because I don't know, but they said that an emotional experience is a reaction to a physical response to an external situation. So in other words, let's check out: the bear is growling out at us. That makes us feel the autonomic arousal of a rapid heartbeat, which then in turn causes us to interpret the conscious emotion of fear. This is an early theory of an emotion, so we're talking like early 1900s, and not knowing what we knew about the body's response to emotion. So it was like a starting block for theories on emotion. Our next one is the Canon and Bard theory. And again, William Canon, Mr. Bard, two different guys who theorized that, James and Longe might have been onto something, but there's a little bit more to feeling an emotion, and here's how they built upon it. So this is the belief that physiological arousal and emotional experience are produced simultaneously by the same nerve stimulus. All right, so this time you have the bear growling at you. Your brain and your limbic system tell you what you're thinking, and your body reacts simultaneously. So these two things happen at the same time. You're going through the haunted trail for the Halloween, and while you feel your autonomic arousal increase, you also feel the fear. So it happens side by side. Our last one here is the most recent in psychological history, and this is called the Shakhtar-Singer two-factor theory. And emotions come from physical arousal, and then we label what is happening to us. So look at the bear, you feel the arousal. That is a bear, it could eat me, I'm afraid of it. We cognitively process that this is a dangerous situation, therefore we feel the fear. Now the fear, and we'll talk about fight or flight when it comes to stressful reactions, the fear is what will propel us to either fight the bear, which I don't recommend, or flee from the bear, which is going to be hopefully a guarantee that you're going to live and survive the bear attack. Now, when it comes to expressing emotions, we have done something like this before when we did sensation and perception. We're looking at these 6 different reactions, and you can probably figure out which ones are happy, sad, bewildered or confused, disgusted, and angry. So labeling those faces or naming those emotions, I think that you could do unless there's something that is preventing you to do that, from doing that. And there are things that prevent us from being able to read social cues. But the early days of understanding the expression of emotion came from Charles Darwin, which is a name I'm sure you are familiar with. But Charles Darwin said that the reason why we express emotions outwardly is because we did used to live in a world where there was not shared language, and so before words, we communicated with facial expressions. Now, this man, Paul Ekman, said that 6 facial expressions are culturally universal. So that is sad, fear, anger, the ones that we just saw. Disgust, contempt, happy, and surprise. Cool story about Ekman and how he found this out. It's in the video on the next click. I will save that for class. But he traveled into a culture that had never seen expression of emotion from other people and found out that those are the ones he drew out the importance of expressing emotion. And as for Elvis sleeping here, I'm really not sure why this slide is here. I left it in there just for fun. So Elvis slept here, and there's flashing no vacancy. If we can find some relevancy with this, I mean, maybe that draws some emotional reaction to you. I don't know. I didn't make it. Able to identify what Charles Darwin's explanation for facial expressions was, that's a question on the test.